Hello everybody, welcome to my review of the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix Round 2 of the F1 season, a track that's been on the F1 calendar for the 4th time and has been 3 different winners and a lot of drama, a lot of action over the years. And is there going to be any drama and action this race? Well, here we go, here is the review. But before we start the review, there's just one tiny adjustment to the F1 grid. Carlos Sainz has been diagnosed with appendicitis and needs surgery, so he won't be taking part in practice 3, qualifying and the race. So who's going to fill in that spot at Ferrari? Well, it was the 18-year-old Englishman Oliver Bearman, and this was something we were all excited about because he is the 3rd youngest driver to take part in Formula 1 and he's the youngest to drive a Ferrari in Formula 1. That is mind-blowing. And can we see him in the points? Well, let's get to the review and find out. And let's start with Oliver Bearman's performance, and he did really well, and he was so close by getting into Q3 by 300ths of a second. I mean, that is so close and fantastic for a track that is so complex, so tricky, and a car he hasn't been driving in at all, and he's only had 1 session of practice, and that is pretty impressive. And if he had all 3 practice sessions, I bet he would have qualified into Q3, but he had to settle for P11 in qualifying, and that is top job from Oliver Bearman. So your top 5 are in qualifying: Oscar Piastri in P5 in the McLaren, Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin in P4, Sergio Perez in the Red Bull P3, Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari in P2, and of course, who got pole position? Max Verstappen, with 0.3 of a second quicker than Charles Leclerc. Wow, that is epic, and that is one hell of a lap for Max Verstappen. And if I was to vote for driver of the day of qualifying, I would give it to Yuki Tsunoda in the RB, with that incredible performance of getting into Q3, while all the other teams that haven't had points yet weren't able to achieve it. And Yuki Tsunoda has been the first of them all, so well done to Yuki Tsunoda. And the question is, does he get points in the race? Well, here's the review of it now. And it's been a very clean start for all the drivers. There's been no contact, no debris, and no safety car, which is something we were expecting on the first lap of Saudi Arabia. But instead, Pierre Gasly retired the car so soon because he had technical issues with his Alpine, and Alpine have had such a very hard first 2 races. I mean, some of the staff have just walked away, left Alpine in a very bad state, and once again, it's been another hard day for Pierre Gasly and for Alpine itself. But at the start of the grid, Lando Norris did a little jump start before the lights went out, and luckily for him, there was no further action made because he was still in his box just about, and he didn't seem to gain anything at all, so it wouldn't make much difference. And if he really did get a penalty, I predict it would be something like a drive-through. But luckily, he didn't get it. And when they got to lap 6, Lance Stroll once again hit the wall at turn 22. Instead of losing the wheel cover, he broke his steering rod and it collided him into the wall, and that was the end of his race. And Aston Martin, well, they did have a very strange radio message going on because Lance Stroll confirmed he was in the wall, and then the team asked, can you bring the car back? And Stroll went, no, I'm in the wall. Like, what just happened? How did Aston Martin not know he was in the wall? And what could he do, really? I mean, there was nothing he could do. That really was a bit odd. And a bit funny. But it gave a lot of opportunity for all the drivers, well, except for 4, which are Guan Yu Zhou, Nico Hülkenberg, Lando Norris, and Lewis Hamilton, who stayed out without boxing under safety car. And was that the right decision? Well, wait and see. And it's been some good racing from Oliver Bearman, who's been racing Nico Hulkenberg in the Haas for quite some time. And he was able to overtake him at some point, but on the next straight, Nico Hulkenberg did get DRS and was able to overtake him again, and he was slowing Oliver Bearman up until he was able to overtake him at that good moment and was able to get up to P9 in the race. And what was incredible about Oliver Bearman for the rest of the race, he stayed at the exact same pace as George Russell, and he didn't lose any time at all. He still kept at the same distance for the rest of the race, and that is brilliant because he's never been in an F1 car and he's never been going this quick, and he's never lasted in a race that long. That is twice as long as he's been in F2. And Oliver Bearman, wow, that is something for somebody who hasn't been taken part in Formula 1 or even in an F1 car. And speaking of British drivers, let's go to the two that haven't boxed, Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton. And was it a good call? Well, I think it was more of a no to me, because I feel like they would have been more higher if they did box as well, because they were, well, I'm not sure they seem too slow, but Lando Norris, he did really well of keeping ahead of Max Verstappen, leading for 5 laps until he was able to overtake. Well, of course, he's Max Verstappen, he's able to overtake everyone, well, except for Liam Lawson, who somehow was able to overtake him at the Dutch Grand Prix last year. But great job for Lando Norris and for Lewis Hamilton for putting on such a good show, for keeping the tyres lasting as long as possible. And it was a brave decision for staying out and not boxing under safety car, but it didn't work out at the end. But all credit to them for such great defending and driving. And speaking of defending, Kevin Magnussen was doing so well from defending Yuki Tsunoda, Alex Albon and Esteban Ocon for the entire race to help Nico Hulkenberg get that one extra point for Haas. Because as Lance Stroll's out of the picture, this gives an opportunity for the teams that haven't scored a point to get points. And Kevin Magnussen was doing so well defending Yuki Tsunoda from lap after lap after lap, and the queue was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And Magnussen did so well when Nico Hulkenberg boxed in. He was able to stay ahead of the others with fresher tyres, and he was seen to be more quicker than all the others. So well done for Haas for an epic strategy and for finally making a good decision. And it's a real shame it wouldn't be said the same for Guan Yu Zhou, because the naughty wheelnut has returned to haunt Kick Sauber. And why is this naughty wheelnut coming back to haunt the team? Because it happened to Valtteri Bottas in Bahrain, and it's happened to Guan Yu Zhou. And let's hope that naughty wheelnut goes away till they get to the Australian Grand Prix. And if it does happen again, well, that looks like it's something what we should call the wheelnut curse. And your finishing results are, well, do I really have to mention the winner? Because we all know who it is anyway, but oh well, it is Max, 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 Super Max, Max, Super, Super Max, 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 Super Max, Max, for the 9th time in a row, and his 100th podium out of the 188 races he's competed in. Wow! And he's been in F1 for only 9 years. And he's even the youngest ever driver to score a century of podiums. That is mind-blowing. He's broken another record again. God. And soon he'll be overtaking Alonso very soon this season. But now let's get to the rest of the grid, which are Sergio Perez in P2, Charles Leclerc in P3, just like his teammate last time in Bahrain. Then it's Oscar Piastri, a strong result from him for McLaren, a good healthy points to help them fight for the constructors, well, if you discount Red Bull and just think about Mercedes, Ferrari, and Aston Martin, all the others for now, because we all know Red Bull's going to win the constructors, don't we? But now let's get to the rest of the grid anyway. Fernando Alonso with a pretty good P5, George Russell in P6, and this is incredible, Oliver Bearman in P7, and he's beaten a 7-time world champion on his first ever debut in Formula 1 and in a Ferrari. How? That is incredible. That is fantastic. And then it's Lando Norris in P8, and then it's Lewis Hamilton in P9, and well done to the Haas of Nico Hülkenberg. And that's it for my review of the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix and what's going to happen when we get to Australia. Will we see an Australian on the podium at last after something that Daniel Ricciardo hasn't achieved? But can he in the RB? Or is it going to be Oscar Piastri who's going to be the first one to do it? We'll find out next time. See you then. Oh, and before you go, don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel and check out my other accounts right here. See you again soon.